the World War II light that needed no fuel and never backed down, and why preppers still love it today. There's a certain kind of story that grabs you by the collar in the first 10 seconds, one of those "wait, how did I never hear about this?" moments, and this is absolutely one of them. A light that glowed all night long in the middle of World War II without a drop of fuel. A battlefield hack so clever, so quietly revolutionary, it still sneaks its way into modern survival circles. Oh yeah, and if you're new here, you're going to want to stick around and hit subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of forgotten survival brilliance we break open on Prepper's Survival Blueprint. Let's dive straight in. World War II wasn't just a clash of nations, it was a clash of shortages. By 1942, fuel was liquid gold. Every ounce of kerosene and oil was earmarked for vehicles, generators, and long-range operations. That meant trenches, forward aid stations, command tents, and bunkers had to function in deep darkness. And darkness in wartime isn't poetic, it's dangerous. Open flames were risky, too bright, too visible, and too dependent on fuel no one could spare. Soldiers needed a way to light cramped spaces without turning themselves into targets. Out of that pressure cooker came one of the smartest pieces of survival engineering the war ever produced. The fuelless field light, an improvised chemiluminescent lamp that glowed softly through the night, with no flame, no wick, no oil, just controlled chemistry. The wild part, it worked really well. And the core principle behind it is something every prepper should understand today. The brilliance of this wartime hack sits in how deceptively simple it was. The backbone was calcium carbide, a compound that reacts with water to produce acetylene gas. Normally, acetylene burns with a fierce hot flame, but soldiers, resourceful, inventive, and always 2 steps ahead of discomfort, shifted the process away from flame and into glow. Instead of igniting the gas outright, they forced the reaction through a diffusion chamber. Think thin mesh, gauze, mica, or porous clay. The gas filtered through these materials and created a soft, stable glow inside a sealed metal container. No smoke, no soot, no flame, just a steady, low-intensity light that was enough for reading maps or patching up wounds, but not enough to scream, "Hey enemy planes, look over here." And the beauty? The only fuel required was a slow drip of water onto the carbide. A trickle, a drop every few seconds. That's it. The ingenuity didn't stop with the reaction itself. Soldiers built these lamps out of whatever they had lying around, because wartime doesn't care whether you have the right tools. Tin food cans, ration cans, empty artillery casings, anything that was metal, hollow, and could be sealed became a lamp body. A simple water drip system, maybe a punctured canteen or a cloth that slowly released moisture, controlled the reaction. The carbide sat in a lower chamber, the water dripped from above, and the glow built from within. Even better, the byproduct of the reaction, calcium hydroxide, was harmless. A chalky paste. Wipe it out, rinse the can, and you were ready for round 2. For soldiers exhausted, cold, and low on supplies, this was magic born from mud and metal. Some units even experimented further, adding phosphorescent materials like zinc sulfide infused with copper to extend the glow or shift the tone. That's early tactical lighting. Low signature, low risk, high payoff. Here's the part most people don't realize. The concepts behind this World War II fuelless lamp didn't die with the war. They evolved. Glow sticks, same family of science. Chemiluminescence, stabilized, commercialized, mass-produced. Caving lamps, still use carbide reactions. Emergency low signature lighting. Born from trenches where silence and subtlety meant survival. For preppers, the lesson is gold. Light does not have to come from flame. It doesn't have to rely on electricity. It doesn't have to drain batteries or depend on a fuel supply chain that could collapse in a crisis. You can generate light from long-lasting materials that store indefinitely and react only when you activate them. That's resilience. That's preparedness. That's knowledge worth keeping close. Here's something easy to miss. The soldiers who built these lamps didn't think they were making history. They were just trying to see well enough to stay alive. But in solving a very real problem, lack of light, they created one of the earliest sustainable lighting systems the world had ever seen. No electricity, no flame, no fuel, minimal waste. Tell me that doesn't sound like a prepper's dream toolkit. This wartime innovation proves something essential. Necessity unlocks creativity, and in survival scenarios, real ones, you want the kind of knowledge that comes from people who didn't have a choice, people who had to innovate under pressure, people who had to turn a tin can and a chemical reaction into a lifeline. That's why this story matters. It's not nostalgia. It's a reminder that resilience isn't always bought, it's built, hacked, repurposed, reimagined, and the fuelless World War II glow lamp is a perfect example of how powerful those principles can be. You don't need to replicate the exact wartime method. Today, we have safer, cleaner options that use similar principles without the hazards older materials carried. Chemiluminescent tools, safe contained glow systems, long storage light sources, they all flow from the same ancestral idea. Light can come from chemistry, not combustion. Understanding that gives you more control during emergencies, more backup options, more redundancy in your lighting plan. And in prepping, redundancy isn't just smart, it's essential. This is the kind of forgotten wisdom that turns a good prepper into a great one. The difference between relying on gear and understanding the principles that make the gear work. And if World War II showed us anything, it's that the simplest solutions often end up being the most enduring. If you enjoyed this deep dive into forgotten survival tech and want more hidden gems from history's toughest moments, make sure you subscribe and share this video, because on Prepper's Survival Blueprint we keep the flame of survival knowledge burning, fuel or no fuel.